So thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm excited that you're here to learn about delivering seamless event support from Colorado State University and Purdue University. Before we get started, I just want to do some quick introductions of our speakers. Joining us today is Jason Rogan. He's the Director of Event Services at the Laurie Student Center at Colorado State University. Jason's been a committed member of the LSC team for 18 years and now leads a robust operation overseeing 9 full-time staff and more than 50 student employees. Thanks for being here, Jason. We're also joined by Travis Peters, the Associate Director of Auxiliary Services at Purdue University. With more than 15 years of leadership experience in auxiliary services, operations, and facilities management, he currently leads strategic initiatives and project management efforts that drive operational efficiency and elevate the campus experience at Purdue. Thanks for being here, Travis. And finally, we have Scott Anderson, principal at 7 Point Solutions, a value-added technology consulting and solutions development firm that helps organizations of all kinds maximize the functionality of their room and resource scheduling and facilities management software. So thank you all for being here today. I am Jen Wood. I'm our VP of Business Development here at Touchwork. If you're not familiar with Touchwork, we are a customer experience platform that allows you to track real-time feedback and audits to make data-driven decisions. So before we get started today, Jason and Travis are going to be presenting on how they're managing events on campus and making them seamless. But they're going to be highlighting 2 pieces of software. So we just want to highlight them quickly before we hand it over to Jason and Travis so that you have an understanding of what the solution is. So the first solution I want to talk about is called Requested. This is an event issue management solution. So it allows your customer to scan a QR code when they're in event spaces and need help. So rather than picking up a phone or chasing you down to let you know there's an issue, they can scan a QR code. They have some buttons that will help them kind of guide them to where they should get help. And then as they click on these buttons, it'll immediately notify your team via text or email that there is an issue. If we do have a sync with ops from 7 Points, which Scott will talk about in a second. And so really what this solution does is it helps you minimize downtime and ensures events run smoothly and without interruption so that your customers can just stay in the room doing their presentations or having their events without feeling stressed about finding help. The other great thing about this solution is it tracks reoccurring issues. So you can actually have data to understand what's happening across campus. This is just an example of a dashboard. These are completely customizable. But as you can see what time and day an issue came in, what the location was, and exactly what the issue was. You can see if there needs to be an action taken to resolve the issue. If somebody's already resolving it, they can let you know by saying it's in progress. And then once it's resolved, your team can just resolve it. You know it's closed out. Now, once you've resolved it, it's great that you were able to resolve the issue in real time, but now you can also get that data to understand where the issues are happening. So this is just a quick example of how you can see exactly what issues have come up. So obviously, AV and IT support was a bigger issue. You can break that down further to see exactly what is happening within AV and IT and where you need those issues resolved. So that's Requested. Just wanted you to understand that. And then I'm going to send it over to Scott to talk about ops real quick.
Great, great. Good day, everybody. My name is Scott Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders of 7 Point Solutions. First, I'd like to thank Jennifer and her colleagues at Touchwork for inviting us to participate today, and also excited to be co-presenting with Colorado State and Purdue, both customers of ours as well. And they provide insight on how the application, well, Jason actually was one of the first customers to use our ops application, and has been helpful in providing insight on how we can evolve the application. And so we're happy to have both Colorado State and Purdue on the call today. A little bit about me. When I first started managing venue operations, it was at the University of Washington in the 90s, which seems like a long time ago now,
Just
and early
yesterday.
into the 2000s. And the process of setting up a meeting or an event really just consisted of a printed report in the back pocket. The focus of a lot of event management and scheduling systems, even to this day, is to streamline the intake part and the scheduling of space, resources, front office tasks like collecting forms, deposits, making sure a customer is registered, et cetera. But the actual daily plan of execution was pretty, it was and is in some cases still pretty limited. It consists of printing a setup report and handing it to employees. And that's still the case even at some places today. That standard works pretty well. It had for many years before the advent of any kind of technology and had a lot of drawbacks, particularly for last minute changes, missing information, and there really wasn't any visibility by the staff on what was being worked on. So while the meeting or event would ultimately execute, it often came at kind of the price of needing to make those last minute changes or trying to track down a promised service or a piece of equipment. And the entire process was very reactive and not very proactive for staff or the customer. So, with that and the advent of mobile devices like phones and tablets, it made sense to develop an application that brought together all the event setup details in one real-time view for the back of house staff that was very operations and execution focused. So in 2013, Ops was created to accomplish that goal by bringing all the event details needed for operational success into one single integrated mobile-friendly daily view. And staff can also message each other with questions and track when rooms are set and ready. And the Ops platform has grown and evolved over the last 12 years with the input of hundreds of event operations staff, and now it's been adopted by venues across the country. Maybe even more daunting in the early years of the plight of actual of the in the operations world was the plight of the actual customer arriving at a meeting or an event or needing assistance. If you even knew where to go, that was kind of an accomplishment, and oftentimes it was difficult to figure out where or who you needed to contact if you arrived at your meeting and something was amiss. And on the weekends and evenings, it could be even more difficult, and it could create a less than frictionless experience for the customers. So on the next slide, when Jason at Colorado State introduced us to Touchwork, we could almost immediately see the benefit of better incorporating the customer experience into ops, particularly if additional services were needed. So ops itself has always been good at relaying information, last minute changes, et cetera, from the scheduling office to the service staff. But we've never had a component where if a customer needed something, that was brought into the application. So this was a perfect partnership to do that. So with our application, we're able to now, in addition to the messages that go out from Touchwork on the QR code to the event staff via text message or email, we can further emphasize the need for assistance by flagging that event in the ops application as shown on the slide here. And by tagging it like this, just adds one more notification stream for the Touchwork solution. And it gives people also, as Jason and Travis will, I'm sure, touch on, additional context. So they also, in addition to knowing something is needed, they can get to all the other details that the event has at the same time, and they can kind of set themselves up for solving the problem in an efficient way. And so with that, what I think I'll do is turn it over to Jason and Travis and let them explain how the Touchwork solution works for their operations, and I'm sure they'll touch on ops as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Scott. Great. Next up, we're going to have Jason talk about how he is streamlining event support at Colorado State University. So, Jason, you are up.
Great, thank you. Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're at. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're using the system, how we use that with the ops integration. And so Laurie Student Center at Colorado State University, we're in Fort Collins, Colorado. We're just down the road from our friends at CU Boulder. And we in the Laurie Student Center are about a 380,000 square foot facility. And here's some of the kind of the statistics of our event operation here. We do a little bit over 12,000 event bookings per year within this building. Our event team is made up of event planners, our setup event managers, our AV and technical services team, as well as our building managers. We've got 30 meeting rooms of various sizes here in the building, 3 ballrooms of various sizes, a theater, some outdoor spaces. So I provide you that context just so you can kind of see the size of operation that we're dealing with and trying to make sure all of our clients get the best experience and service possible here when they're having an event. So traditionally, and Scott touched on this a little bit, but traditional way of getting assistance if you needed help as a client was go find someone. Like I said, in our building, we're a big building. That finding a staff member or walking down to our office can eat up quite a few minutes of your time and pull you out of your event, either while you're setting up or while the event is running. You can call our building manager again. That could take a while to get a response, if depending on where they are in the building. You could wait for someone to come back to the event, and so not necessarily bad ways to reach out for help, but it wasn't fulfilling everything we needed with our clients. So we were looking for a solution that was faster, more convenient, contactless, especially in the post-COVID world, and with our student population, we see that they really want to be able to interact via an app or through a QR code using their device. We had looked at some solutions that were going to be more comprehensive, where we would put a device in the room, like a tablet or something. But really, we wanted people to be able to just do what they're comfortable with, what they already know. And also, it's more cost effective for us if we're not having to put devices in every room. And then we really wanted something that people could do without either interrupting their setup time or their meeting, something that they could interact with without having to pull them away from the event or send someone out of the event to go find assistance. And so we luckily got connected with Touchwork, and they already have this system in other use cases, and it seemed like something that worked really well in events. And so the image on the right is an actual image of the sign that we have put in all of our event spaces on the wall. The QR code is unique to that meeting room. So the client doesn't actually have to know what room they're in. Their feedback will be tagged with the room number that they scan that in. We do have divisible rooms, and I'm sure many of you do as well. We have a unique sign in each room, and then they can scan either one if they're in the room combined, and we still get that room number. We had to go back and forth quite a bit on the signage. This is probably our third iteration of the sign. Initially, we just said, how can we assist? Scan this code. And we got a lot of feedback from clients that thought that they were going to be taken to like a FAQ or an online help, self-help type thing. And so the current sign that we have up in all of our rooms, you can see it says to have event staff come to you. scan this code. So implying that this goes to a human being. You can see we still have the phone number on there though. We still want people to be able to connect with us however they feel most comfortable. And so this, as Scott had kind of mentioned, this is another avenue for clients. We're not replacing the traditional methods, but we're giving folks a kind of a better solution if they would like to use that. The other great thing about this is guests can scan that code if they're sitting in a meeting room. So a guest could give us some feedback, or they could let us know that they're too warm or too cold. It doesn't have to just be the client that utilizes the system. And you can, that QR code, if anyone had their phone out, and maybe we just go back for a second, feel free to scan that. This is an actual working QR code for one of our meeting rooms, and you can kind of navigate. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you scan that QR code on the next couple of slides, but you can also follow along if you would like. So if you did scan that QR code, the first image shows what kind of web page you get taken to. You can see, like I said, right there at the top, it says meeting room 304. And so that's, it knows what room you're in. That would be today's date if you scan it. The images were taken from November 1st. And we give you 5 options to select from. Those are all customizable. So we worked with Touchwork to come up with those categories that work best for us. The middle image there is if you tap on AVIT, it takes you to that multiple choice selection as well as an other. If you select other, you can fill in whatever you want. But these were kind of, we went off of the most typical calls we get for support and made those as options. The need adapter for HDMI cable was not originally there, and we had so many people type that in under other that we just added it as a multiple choice item. And so really customizable to your needs, and obviously brandable as well. The third image there is if you select catering, different requests for that. And then if we go to the next screen, room support, other. So on all of these, you can see there's some multiple choice options, and then there's the option to fill in whatever you would like. And then the little phone image allows you to give us your contact info. So if someone does leave their contact info, we could reach out to them. We don't typically utilize that. Most of our clients have not put in their contact info. And generally, our building manager is walking into the meeting room within a couple of minutes of receiving the request. So it hasn't been something we've utilized a lot, but I'm a firm believer in offering more options to people than less. And so once you hit submit your request, the next slide shows kind of what happens on the back end. So that first image is what you would see on your device if you submitted a request. Lets you know that it's been delivered to the staff, and again provides our building manager phone number. If someone, either if they're not feeling like they're getting the response quickly enough, or if they want to call anyways, we're giving them that option. As soon as you hit submit, within seconds, our building manager gets a text message, which is that middle image. It has all the information, so you can see the date, time, what meeting room number, and then what the request was. In this case, it was connecting the computer to the screen. The great thing too is if they don't respond within the system and mark this as completed within 5 minutes, they get a reminder text, and that's actually the text you see above. It's an overdue text message. Again, customizable amount of time. We chose 5 minutes. And then the right image is the email that we also get through Touchwork with the request as well. And so we get the email, they get the text message. And one of the really great things about that, and again, customizable of who gets text messages, who gets emails, but it really allows us to be effective in supporting our staff. The building manager gets that text message, but if they get a few of those right in a row, which does happen sometimes, our career staff are also getting those emails, and we can easily hop in there and let them, we can go assist with an issue or support our building manager. It really gives us some efficiency in taking care of those requests. The other great thing, and Jennifer, if you want to go back one slide. Um, so like in this case, you saw I was connecting the computer to the screen. Um, we get a ton of requests for help with owl cameras, or connecting computer to the screen. And we get fewer requests for things like temperature or Wi-Fi or dead batteries and microphones. But the great thing about getting this information via the text and the email is we already have an idea of what the issue is before we even start headed to that client. And so if they did say we need help with our owl camera, then I know that I need to maybe bring, a different owl camera with me, or I know I need to bring a microphone battery with me, or a new HDMI cable based off of what the request is. Um, so getting that extra info is really important to us and helps us be a lot more efficient in working with our clients. Now we can go to the next one. So like we mentioned, and Scott said, we're ops users through 7-Point Solutions. That integration has been really critical to us. And you can see he had kind of the same image, but you can see there it shows the event with the notification. This has really allowed our student staff to remain within one ecosystem. So rather than having to get a text message from Touchwork, go into Touchwork's link to mark it as resolved or in progress, and then go into ops and see what the event is while they're headed that way. This way they still get the text message, because that's a very immediate notification. But now they can look in ops and see exactly which event. They can see who the client is. They can see what equipment the client has already reserved. And that makes it really easy for our student staff to manage everything within ops. And then within ops, they can mark off that request as being handled. They can even leave notes for us, or notes about what they did to resolve the situation. And sorry. And then we also see that in ops. And a lot of times our students are already in ops, and they see that notification come through there as well. So the text message is helpful, and then we see that notification in ops. And then that we have a notes report that comes out every day, and so we can track, what the solution was. We don't have our students put in a note if it's a client error, but we do have them put in notes that if they had to replace a cable, or if there was something wrong, or if they had to like bypass the system temporarily for the event. And that gives us some data on how to follow up with within that meeting room or with the staff on our service delivery. Next slide. So, we mentioned all of these. Scott touched on it. Travis is going to touch on it. But this usage of the QR code has really improved our response time. Allows us to go into an event with some knowledge ahead of time of what the issue is, and rather than it used to be that, and we still sometimes get a call from like our info desk that says the client in room 304 needs help. That's all the information they have. Well, that means we have to go to the client, ask them what the issue is, then go potentially get something to correct the issue. This has kind of helped us bypass all of that and be able to immediately respond to the client with what they need. Like I said, it helps us be more coordinated on the back end. We can support each other. We can have these notifications go to the correct areas right from the get-go, so the right people are taking care of the problem. Like I said, clients can still call us, they can still find us, they can still walk down to our office, but now they have another avenue of connecting with us in a way that is maybe more comfortable for them. But then they can choose how they want to get support from us. And then, it gives us a lot more understanding of issues that need to be corrected. So the back end dashboard that Jennifer showed, we utilize that quite a bit from the career staff side to track ongoing issues. We can kind of see if the same meeting room is constantly having the same issue. And that helps us then correct those type of issues. It can also help us monitor our student staff and correct any performance issues if we see that they're not responding as quickly as we would like. But that data has been really invaluable in allowing us to, sometimes it's even the client is having, like, multiple clients are having an issue in a room where there's nothing wrong with the room, but it's allowed us to understand that the way that room works is not working with the way people expect it to. And so we can correct even our processes to ensure that clients are having the best experience there. So that I do see a, do you want me to
Yeah,
answer a couple of these questions, Jennifer?
yeah. So I was just going to ask you.
But
Um, so there are a few. So are the support options a forced response, or can they press submit without clicking any of them?
so it is, they have to select something. So it is a forced response. They don't have to necessarily fill in the box if they have a custom thing, but they do have to at least select one of the pre-made options.
And so just that's how it works for you. But then we could also create a button that just, if somebody didn't want to have it go somewhere and you just wanted a button that said just alert us, we could I know we could do that as well. So, but it probably would take a little bit longer to get the resources they need because right now, obviously for you, Jason, at Colorado State, like when they hit AV, you know exactly who it should go to and how to respond. So. And then someone also asked, will a copy of the deck be available to share with their teams? Yes, we can share this with you. We will probably take out the QR code that Jason posted though, because it is a live QR code. So I just don't want somebody sending feedback when maybe they shouldn't. So yes, we will send it. We'll probably just have to change out that QR code, but we will send it.
And then there
Um,
was one other, oh, I don't, sorry, Jennifer.
that's okay.
So there was a question about if we're using university issued phones or personal devices. So for us at CSU, our building manager is a university phone that gets handed off throughout the day. Our catering service team also has a university phone that they hand off to the managers throughout the day. And then we utilize iPads and Android tablets for our student staff. I do know that many of our staff will pull out their phone and pull up like ops on it, but those text messages are going to university phones. One other great thing about the text messages is they are able to schedule those. You can't change it like regularly, but we have our catering folks. We have a person getting the morning shift, only getting messages during their shift, and the evening shift only getting text messages to their phone during their shift. So they're not getting bugged by text messages when they're not at work unless they change their schedule for a one-off.
Great. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Well, now we're going to transition over to Travis Peters with Purdue University. So, Travis, thanks so much for being here and take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jen gave me a prompt as far as looking at how Touchwork has integrated with Purdue University and our impact on our facility operations and event management, specifically at a larger institution. As we walk through this deck, instead of talking about how we're actually utilizing, I'm going to talk more about our decision-making process to adopt Touchwork as a system that we could utilize for our facility and event teams. First, I did want to just give a quick institutional profile of Purdue, just in case if you're not familiar with our institution. We were founded in 1869, and we're located in West Lafayette, Indiana. We're about an hour northwest of Indianapolis. We are a R1 research institution with high focus on the STEM field, primarily engineering, agriculture, science, and technology. And we are the largest higher education institution in the state of Indiana. Just a little bit about our enrollment statistics. Total enrollment at our institution, 57,310 with 43,067 being undergrads, 13,317 graduates, and 926 professional. I didn't know what a professional student was until I created this presentation. But those are faculty or staff that are currently enrolled in an academic class or program, or folks that are in our veterinary or pharmaceutical certificate program. So there are 926 of those individuals on campus. And just a little bit more of a breakdown. 44% of the students on campus are from Indiana. 40% of them are not. We do have a student representative of every state in the United States, and then 16% of our total enrollment, or about 9,270 folks, are international students, representing 121 different countries. So just a little bit about our department. Obviously I'm Associate Director of Auxiliary Services, but I am housed within the Purdue Memorial Union. And we commonly refer to ourselves as the enterprise. We like to coin the phrase that we are the hospitality epicenter of Purdue's campus. If you take out athletics, I suppose, but everything else kind of rolls through one of our reporting lines of our organizational structure. What is also important to know is really since COVID to present, we've gone through a pretty significant transformation of what our department looks like. So prior to COVID, this department was in student life. Now we report to administrative operations, which on most campuses is a bit closer related to like business affairs or an organization that is money revenue driven. We used to own and operate a hotel here connected to the union in 2020, in August of 2020. We went into an agreement with White Lodging, which is a hotel proprietor organization, to transfer ownership to a Marriott Autograph Collection property, known as the Union Club Hotel. And we'll talk a little bit more about that relationship here in a minute, but it does add an interesting wrinkle that you don't see at a lot of different campuses. Also around that same time frame, we adopted Aramark Hospitality Company. Here, they're known as Purdue Food Co. To oversee all non-residential retail dining locations on campus. So their offices and the majority of their venues are located here at the Union, but they have other venues strategically placed throughout campus that we help align with. They also handle catering options around campus as well. So that will tie back into the Touchwork system here just shortly. About 2 years ago or so now, we absorbed Purdue Conference Services and Event Design. And just a little over a year ago, we absorbed AV Services specifically for the Union and an adjacent building called the Stewart Center. Before we took this over, all AV requests went to a centralized IT department, and then those requests were farmed out. So response times were a bit slower with us trying to take control of that customer experience, absorbing this AV services staff for our units that we oversee just made sense. So as we look at next, this is like a 30,000-foot view of our organizational structure, just so you kind of have an idea of how we operate. We do have a senior director of auxiliary services who also serves as the director of the union. And then we're kind of broken down into four separate categories reporting up to the same person. So we have our conference and event design team. We have our our facility operations team, retail dining, and our hotel. Most of these options outside of the hotel do have some sort of touch point with Touchwork. Our event planners are putting information into EMS, which is being reported to 7-Point Ops. So they are driving a lot of what our building setup team does. Our AV services teams obviously handling all the technology, and then with the the catering component through retail dining, um, all of these uh, all these individual teams have some touch points with Touchwork. One group that is not listed here that also plays a real key important piece in what we're doing is building services, which is our university-based custodial service option. We have a set of 18 people that work here in the union that take care of the cleaning portions of our building, but they don't report to us. We are utilizing TouchWorks for event-related issues, but we're also using it for bathroom and general cleanliness. So those folks do play a key role in making sure that our buildings are clean for our guests that are coming in, but we're also responding to restroom related issues. We need toilet paper, we need paper towel in a timely fashion as well. So just giving you a bit of insight about the facilities and our event services operation here amongst the enterprise. The union itself is about 258,000 square feet. We're seeing about an annual visits of 2.3 million folks, and we have 14 meeting spaces within the union. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. The Union Club Hotel manages a good portion of those 14 meeting spaces. The Union Club related rooms, we are not currently using Touchwork in. I think we have an opportunity to expand in the next year or so to accommodate some of those rooms as well. But as we move over to the event services side, all of those details and numbers are associated with the spaces that our event services team actually controls and manages. The Stewart Center, like I said, next door to Conference Center that we utilize for a lot of conference and event needs, 55,188 square feet, an annual visits of 1.4 million. There are 23 meeting rooms in that space. There are some that are divisible. So we have some rooms that can be broken into 4 separate rooms. And like Jason mentioned, we have individual codes for each of those rooms. So regardless of what room you are in, you can adequately get your request for help sent to the right place. And just some event statistics for 24-25. We did 9,575 events for that academic year. The majority of those being student organization events, a little over half. But we do service university departments. There are conference and events happening. We have external events, so groups that are not affiliated with the university that want to come in and utilize our space. And then we do help coordinate wedding use. So we had 30, which is a big number for a venue, 52 weekends, 30 of them we are having weddings, which is a really nice aspect. So when Jen approached our prior senior director of auxiliary services with the idea of Purdue coming on board with Touchwork, some of the internal discussions we have really revolved around these 5 ideals and whether or not this system can meet our expectations and the expectations of our clients and was fiscally responsible for us to move in this direction. So we're going to highlight specifically what we talked about in these, but would this product streamline communication amongst a department that was transitioning to being one giant unit? Would it increase accountability for issues and concerns and how quickly we were responding to those? Would it enhance the overall customer experience of our clients? Would we be able to use the information that we were gathering to inform decision making and budget discussions? And then the integration with 7-Point Ops was a big piece that we were really happy that they were able to accommodate early on in the process. So looking at our operations, we're doing things very similar to how Colorado State does the response piece. Our building managers, we have about 40 of them. They're students that work from the time our building opens at 6 a.m. till the time we close at 12 a.m. We have 1, 2, 3 on site at all times. And they've served as our central hub for all requests that are coming in. Our building managers utilize iPads for 7-point ops. They also carry a cell phone while on duty. That cell phone is university issued as well. And we also have two-way radios that we're able to communicate with other departments within our area. The ability to track the responses real time is a real nice addition to this process. So we know when things are coming in, how long it's taking for our staff to respond to them, and then what the resolution time looks like. But in order to do that, we also wanted to make sure that we had built in a lot of redundancy. So not only are our building managers getting the notifications for all of the categories listed there on the left, um, any issues with AV are going to our AV services team. Any issues with catering are going directly to Airmark. Room issues are going to our building setup team. If there are other issues, they're going to our building services team, and then our feedback is coming to our facility team so we can make sure that if something needs to be handled quickly, we can do so. Same thing goes with our restroom QR code. All of those issues are coming directly to our building managers. Because there is a bit of fluctuation with our building services and who is here and at what time, we receive all those messages internally with our building managers and then radio to our building services to respond to those restroom related issues. And looking at the accountability piece, and I think this was a big part as we moved from 4 or 5 individual departments to one centralized department underneath our senior director. It was important that we were able to track the information that we were gathering through these requests. So, as Jason mentioned, every request submitted through the QR code is logged with the exact time, location, and details. This really eliminates any questions that a staff member may have as they're heading to a room to resolve it. Now, do the clients always give the best notes? No. But at least we have an idea of what we're getting ourselves into before we get there, and we can take all necessary equipment along with us to resolve that issue quickly, and not have to make several trips to that specific room. One factor that we really liked about the Touchwork system is that we could make sure that the notification was going directly to the appropriate staff member. So while Purdue Food Co. is here in the union, their catering operations is not. So their staff is not always readily available for our building managers. So the ability to have a notification from an event that's happening in the Stewart Center that had catering go directly to the Airmark team, they're able to respond to that request quicker than we would if we would have to track down someone on the catering staff. So the ability to direct them to the exact staff member that needs the request was a nice factor for us wanting to move forward. And then last, and I put this on here not because we're using it for disciplinary purposes or to get people in trouble, but it is nice to be able to pull up the dashboard and look at a status and see, okay, this was submitted at this particular time. Our staff responded to it at this time and it was completed by this time. It allows us to look at that real time. So we know that there isn't an organ or group who's having an event that is waiting for an hour for a response. The overdue text messages that we're getting, if you haven't responded in 5 minutes, is also really important because there are occasions where we get multiple of these coming in at the same time. And to respond to all of them in a timely manner does get hard, or you may lose track of one of them. So getting that reminder is also really important. The next piece, we can't call ourselves the epicenter of hospitality if we're not enhancing our customer service experience. So, what we've learned, if anything, over the last several years is that people prefer an immediate and low friction access to help. Some people don't want to go search for a staff member or have a phone call or really even have that face to face interaction. They would much rather be able to use their mobile device to submit an issue that then is taken care of in a timely fashion. So this system allows us to create these QR codes, place them strategically in locations, and instantly report issues or request assistance that allows us to eliminate barriers like finding a staff member, waiting in line, or trying to find a service desk when you may not want to have that interaction in the first place. We've also found that it empowers our guests when they can make the request on their own. Self-service communication options often lead to increased satisfaction because they remove uncertainty or perceived inconvenience. Some people just won't, and I'm like this too. I go to a restaurant, I order something, it doesn't come out that way. I'm just going to eat it. I'm not going to make an inconvenience. And some people are that way as well when it comes to their event needs. This allows them to really eliminate that communication piece and feel like they can be heard without being a nuisance. And I think one of the pieces that people have really mentioned that they liked is it allows them to stay in their space. Yes, they may be having a tech issue, but they can continue to go through their presentation or have an activity or interact with their guests without having to leave the space to try to find someone to come in and resolve their issue. So those were some of the reasons why we felt like Touchwork could enhance our customer service. I think the biggest piece for us as we looked at this system was, would it allow us to inform our decisions and budget allocations? And part of this is a staffing model or a staffing pattern, but some of this too is our capital project. And it really has. Now, while we're still in our infancy of having Touchwork, we're not even quite a year in. And we've had about 160 or so notifications sent. More than 100 of those have been cleanliness related issues or restroom service requests. Only about 42 have been event related requests, but we have noticed some patterns which have informed decision making. So we're looking at this. One thing it does informs future planning. It converts real-time reports into actionable data. Some of the times we were using secondhand knowledge or secondhand information to inform our decisions when we didn't really actually know what was going on because there was no way to report it. It identifies trends, reoccurring issues, and operational gaps. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the staffing patterns, but it has been able to allow us to tighten up kind of our offerings because we know when things are going to occur, and then supports strategic decision making with clear evidence. So one way that we've really used this system is we have taken the information that we've gathered from primarily the cleanliness piece of the dashboard and looked at some patterns as far as timing. What we've noticed is the main time frame for our request to come in for bathroom related issues was between 11 and 2, which is our heavy lunch period. And then after 6 p.m., when our staffing has dropped. So we have 3 to 4 staff members here during the day. We have 3 staff members here in the evenings, and then we have 5 that are overnight. But what we've noticed is in that 11 to 2 period, we get requests for we need more paper towel, we need more toilet paper or soap. And it has allowed us to modify our rotations as far as when we're servicing bathrooms. So we now have shifted to where a lot of those services are happening at 10 a.m. prior to the rush, and then we're doing them again right after the rush at 2 to make sure that we're eliminating any of those operational gaps. It also allows us to kind of align our operations with when the demand is. The strengthens capital replacement decisions. This has been primarily for AV services. So as I mentioned, about a year ago, we absorbed the AV services space, but along with that came the equipment that is in the rooms. we've already noticed some patterns as far as microphones or projectors that we've gotten repeat calls for. And now we've been able to put those on a list as far as when we want to replace them. And we're starting to be able to build that document out from scratch based on some of the feedback that we're getting from the event clients. And then lastly, the integration with 7-Point Ops was really important for us. Like I said, we do carry a cell phone. Not all of our student managers or student building managers have a cell phone. Others are carrying iPads. So to kind of, like I mentioned, building that redundancy, this gives us another option to push those notifications to another system, which is Ops in this example, and they're all getting that same information. So there's a seamless workflow. Issues reports to request it, floated directly to 7-Point Ops for immediate action and tracking. It does also make our response time faster. Regardless of who's working or who has what device, we're getting the same notifications and we can communicate amongst the group to make sure that those things are getting taken care of in a timely fashion. And then one thing that we probably underestimated naively in the beginning was the operational efficiency. A client doesn't care if it's shift time or break time. They have an issue when that happens. So allowing some of those notifications to be pushed to 7-Point Ops make sure that we're not missing any issues that may arise because that notification button is still illuminated on that daily event screen. So those are some of the reasons why we did feel like Touchwork would be a good option. Jason touched on it. I think it's really important. First of all, the folks from Touchwork are really easy to work with. The marketing, so the QR codes and the design of those, they handled for us. We approved the design, they ran with it. They're always able to modify it if you need to. The drop-down buttons are customizable. So as we see, as Jason mentioned, if there's a request for a lot of HDMI adapters, you can make that a tab instead of having them type it in. So the kind of ever-changing, it's kind of a living document almost, makes every aspect of this product beneficial for us.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah.
We did have a question come in. This is more for Scott, and I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but Scott, you can confirm. Does 7-Point Ops work with other platforms like 25 Live other than EMS?
Yes, yep. We integrate with all the mainstream scheduling software applications, so 25 Live, Mazevo, EMS, and soon CourseDog. So, yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat now. I'm just going to do a quick recap before we get to any last questions. Obviously, you heard the presentation. I just want to do a quick recap about how these solutions have helped create that seamless event management. It's making it easy for customers to make requests. They don't have to leave a room. They don't have to make a phone call. They can keep moving forward. It centralizes all event-related requests in one easy platform, routing requests to the right teams automatically, saves time. It provides real-time tracking so nothing gets overlooked. It reduces back and forth emails, miscommunication. Everything's tracked within the system. Streamlining workflows for greater efficiency and consistency. Keeping teams aligned with notifications and building accountability, and ensuring event managers stay organized and fully prepared for every event. So I really want to thank you guys for your time today. We really appreciate it. Don't know that there's any other questions. I do have one quick question that I have been asked by other people, so I'll just ask you. Do you educate people when they book an event about the QR code, or are they just kind of seeing it in the space and they know that's what they have to do?
I'll answer for ours. We cold turkeyed it. We had a piece of paper that were on a lot of our podiums with a phone number to call. So they were familiar with seeing a piece of paper if they had issues, and we swapped them out one night, and the next morning they came in, there were QR codes. We've evolved a little bit, and I know that our event services team is sharing more information about the QR codes now than when we first did. And we did at the beginning, we're very slow to get responses because people weren't sure what the QR code was for. So we did have to do some education to make sure people knew that that's what it was there for.
Thank you. Jason, do
Yeah,
you
we
mind
had a
commenting? Yeah.
similar approach as Travis. Now what we do is it's kind of a three prong approach. So our event planners during the planning phase tell clients, hey, day of when you're here, this is a system available to you. When we go assist a client, if they didn't use the QR code system, we point out, hey, if you need anything else, you can always use that if you'd like. And then we also, when we meet clients upon arrival, doesn't always happen, but if we're interacting with them, we mention if you need any assistance, this is one of the options for you. And through those three ways, we've gotten a lot of, especially from student groups. Students love it.
Great. Thank you. And then one last question. Can the Touchwork communication go to more than one phone number at the same time? Yes, it can. Jason and Travis, do you want to speak to that really quick, like how you're having it go?
Yeah, I think ours goes out to like 4 or 5 phone numbers. And like I said, some of those are based on their shift times. And then also it's like Travis mentioned, it's based on what type of service they're requesting. It might go to different phone numbers in addition to emails.
Thank you.
Yeah, my operations team doesn't like me very much. I made them receive all of the notifications for each of the categories, regardless. That way we knew that we were getting them. But we probably have 7 or 8 folks on staff that are receiving the majority of the notifications. Our billing manager is getting them all, and then each of the individual areas probably has 2 or 3 people that are getting them as well, based on shift time.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you all for your time today. If anybody has additional questions, I do have our contact information here. Feel free to reach out to us. We will also send out the presentation as well as the recording. But we really appreciate your time. Travis, Jason, Scott, thank you so much for presenting, sharing how you're doing this. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.